All right, welcome, Theodora. So,
Hi.
this is Theodora Pavlou, and she's such an amazing inspiration. She has been studying art for her whole life, it feels like. And she studied at the Art Institute in Chicago, and she has a degree in education as well as art. And she's a loving, passionate teacher, as well as like a very prolific artist. Theodora is so passionate, and it just oozes out of you so freely. You create so many different like subject matters. You create landscapes inspired by Greece and still lifes and portraiture and different memories of your life. And I think it's just so beautiful that you have such a wide range of artwork that you produce. And it's just so nice to have you here. So welcome, Theodora. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Okay, I'm Theodora Pavlou. Um, yeah, an artist. You kind of said it, studied at the Art Institute. I teach now part-time at a Greek school and a day school. And the days that I have off, I just work on my art and I study more. I just started also studying at the Ravenswood Atelier. I don't know.
Alier. Yeah.
Yeah.
Super
So
cool.
it's teaching me something I was never taught before. So I'm always looking for ways to like level up my technique and um, just go a little bit deeper within my all the
Yeah.
mediums that I work with. Yeah.
So cool. I love it. So that is like the coolest thing ever because you are really focusing right now on like technical skills and like building up you're honing in on what you're good at with the paintbrush and you're keeping learning and you love learning and your education is just like, a part of your practice. And I think it's really cool that you are so passionate about continuing and making improvements and also just like painting. So
Yeah, and I kind of had to make a sacrifice because when I graduated university, I taught art full time, but I shared with my boss that I don't see myself here for 20 years. Like,
Mhm.
so, working now part-time at a school, I feel like is benefits me more and like it is a little selfish, but I feel like I see a vision, right, from my
Yes,
art.
yes.
I'm just trying to like carve that
No, and
path.
it's not selfish at all. You're doing the world a service by bringing more art into the world. So I appreciate your passion and your dedication to your practice. It's just so amazing that you're doing that. And I know that you're going to be extremely successful and do amazing things. So, Theodora, our first like question, our
Yeah.
gateway question is what was your first childhood memory of art or creativity? Was it like is like when you were a kid and your family, did someone inspire you? Like what's the first like memory or story you could tell us? Like when you first were like had that click of like I love this.
Yeah. Well, definitely just like, well, I went to a public school, so just like having art in school, I realized I really enjoyed it. And then like seeing like the difference between like me and some of my other classmates, like I saw like the progress and stuff. But what was cool is my neighbor, so my next door neighbor, she had all the kids in the neighborhood come together. And once a week we would she would teach painting classes in her basement.
Oh,
So
cool.
we would all get together and it was only a few of us, but she had like projects like planned out and um she was also an artist herself. So like connecting with her and I don't know, I'll never kind of forget like going over to her house and just painting in her basement with all the kids. Um, and then I always had like a little office or studio in my parents' basement where I would set up and paint and like I have three older siblings, so like sometimes when they're doing like I would sometimes isolate myself and just kind of like be in my own space and like I really enjoy just like creating and
I love that. Yeah, I think too as a kid, it's like a nice like retreat for yourself to just like be alone and get inspired by your own thoughts and memories and moments and just like go at it with the paintbrush. I think that's really amazing. I love that. And so you also were kind of telling me about your yaya and like her gardens and like your memories of growing up in Greece and everything like that inspires your work is very connected to your heritage as a Greek woman. So can you talk to us a little bit about like your memories of Greece and like how you get your inspiration and what all that. Like, tell us about your memories from
Well,
Greece.
yeah, my memories. Yes. So I would visit every summer. I still visit every summer. And I think my favorite part is honestly just swimming in the salt water. But we had a apartment with like my aunt. Like I just remember it was always really crowded, but we would spend a lot of time with like my cousins and my aunts and uncles. Um, and we would go to my grandma's house. My mom would like drop me off with my siblings at my grandma's house. And she had like this huge garden that I would kind of roam through and explore. And every morning she'd wake up and like water the garden. I feel like for her it was like her escape and
Mm-hmm.
like painting. But she really like knew how to like preserve her garden and like nourish it and everything. So, and she had like cats roaming around. She had like bunnies and like cages. My grandfather had his vineyard with, and they would make wine. And he had hunting dogs. He would like take them across to the mountains and they would hunt. But yeah, I just remember like her fig tree, like waiting till August to like pick the figs off the tree, the peaches, her rose gardens, and then she would tell us like stories about like all the different flowers and the best just about like gardening too and some of her like childhood and her spiritual experiences and stuff. So yeah, I brought out this album and I have some photos of their house and the garden. It's like very green. And if you think of Greece, usually think of like really dry climate.
Mm-hmm.
But
What part of Greece was your yeah from?
so it's called Avlona. And so
California.
here's like a picture
Oh
of
my
me,
God.
and
Yeah.
it's just like all the greenery.
Yeah.
So
Super like lush. Is that
yeah.
you or her?
And this is her, oh, this is me, yeah.
Oh, that's cute.
Yep. And I would always wear her fanela, like her
Yeah.
white shirt. And then my grandpa's house. So he actually like built it with his people. But yeah. So we would spend a lot of time there and then I mean there's so many memories from and she's still alive. So but she just doesn't have her garden anymore. So after she moved, I did a series of the flower paintings. I can share one with you.
That is really awesome.
So I kind of remembered like what flowers she had, and then I added some pearls, which symbolize purity, and because she was so pure, she is so pure, and she would um
Wait, can
I
you tell us like a story? Like you said, like she would tell you like the symbolism behind like the flowers or like stories behind the flowers. Do you want to share like one of the stories with us? Like what was like
um yeah, I mean like not necessarily just like about the flower, how like at night some would close or
oh,
no
got it.
open and then some
Yeah.
would
Oh, that's really sweet.
yeah, but the whole like purity thing is she shared stories with me about like miracles she's encountered with like the saints from Greece, which is really cool.
Wait,
So
do
yeah.
you remember any stories you could share with us? Like any specific?
Yeah, I think so when one of her kids, her son, he had he was sick somehow and she went to the hospital and there was a boy next to them waiting to see a doctor. And the mom was, and it was in Aegina, which is where Saint Nectarios is, and the
Mhm.
mom was praying to him to like help, like intercede for her kid. And then out of nowhere, and this boy, I guess he couldn't speak. And he out of nowhere he said, "Mom, this old man with a cane just hit me on my back." And
He
yeah,
wasn't
and
able to
she
talk.
says it was
Wow.
Saint Nectarios. Yeah.
No
So
way.
like, and he has like many stories like that, or when she was on a bus, like coming back from a monastery, I guess someone had stole a relic or some type of, yeah, and she had like
And a relic is a holy, like a saint's, a piece of the saint's bones or body, and they like have
yeah.
miracles in case like someone's listening and they don't
Yeah,
know.
and I guess the bus wouldn't start. So then the person on the bus that stole some, oh, I think it was a belt. It was like a, not a relic, I'm sorry, because those are usually locked up. It was a belt, like a closti that was like,
Oh, okay. Like a
so
holy.
the bus wouldn't start, and then that guy that took it, he knew like it was because of him.
Yeah.
So he went back, he like, yeah, like crazy stuff like that. She would
Wow.
always
I know.
um,
I feel like these stories are so common. I have so many miracle stories too, like from my family, and it's just like so cool that like our ancestors have such a deep and spiritual connection and like personal stories and moments that's happened to them that like they can recall. And it just goes to show like like us as Greeks, it's like we're more than just like Greek, we're Orthodox and we have this like connection to the saints and like this personal relationship, and we see like God's hand like working through other people that are
right.
like saintly people. So it's just really cool that your Yaya has like woven those memories and moments into you in your life, and we can like keep these lives of the saints like alive in even today's day and age in 2025, and have that same faith as they did back in the village. So I think that's really, really awesome. I love that. Thank you for sharing that, Theodora.
Yeah. And
And
now she's not feeling so good now. She's actually like on bed rest, but she had asked my aunt that takes care of her. She's like, they're calling for me, like I need to take communion. So, and it's
oh,
been a long time since she's been to church because she can't walk. So, like, I mean, you can just see how like connected she is spiritually.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's really sweet. I love that. And so like when you're creating your paintings, like when you're in the studio and you like looking for inspiration, like how do you find this inspiration? Like what do you use your own reference photos? Do you photograph a lot? Like can you just talk us through like what your creative process is
Yeah.
like and how you like
So for most of my Greece paintings, they're all either done from photographs, if there's a specific scene that I'd like to capture or memory,
Mhm.
or when I'm there, I like to paint from life. So I like to go outside and plein air paint, or
Yeah,
yeah, I
can
love
you
to
show us some of the plein
watercolor
air paintings?
sketches. Hmm?
Can you show us like one of your plein air
Yeah.
paintings?
So these two right here, this is the Choreo, the village.
Mhm.
Um, this was plein air in Kefalonia. And then this is another one, um, also painted from observation.
I
This
love that.
was done from a photo. And actually these three, I took a workshop in Greece, one in Paros and one in Kefalonia. So, I had, again, it was kind of like studying more art, but then I created
Mhm.
these beautiful pieces that, I cherish now, but, um, this one was from a photo and I had painted it in Greece from the photo in the studio. I
Mhm.
remember I was like the only one late at night in the studio there painting. Cause like it was open to us anytime we could just go in.
Cool.
And I have this cave here. So this one I did in the States from a photo, but this past summer I went to Crete and there's this beach there I went. And I like to like explore every time I'm in a village or in a beach, I like to explore like my surroundings. So I found like a small little beach that was like, there was like this cave.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no one there, and I actually got to swim in there, and I was in here. So it was like, I love finding like kind of like secret, like hidden beaches, like Korpes, they're called.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my God,
So
I love doing that too. There's nothing that compares to like scaling the shore of the beach. Like you just are like exploring. You feel like no one else like exists and it's just like you and nature and it's like you're so like free and like wild and like untouched and it's just like this beauty that like this rawness too of like the nature. It's like there's no one around. It's just like
right,
so it's the feeling of exploring in those little coves like that. It's so like liberating and freeing.
yeah.
Um, I love that. I totally feel you on that experience. So I wanted you to also kind of tell us about like how your art practice here in the States, like you live in Chicago, and like tell us about like how you like bring that Greek energy and that like vibe and that passion into your art practice here now that you're like at home and you're in a routine.
Well, I visit, I mean, I go back every summer, so
Mhm.
I always look forward to going back and like, I mean, I already have my ticket. I'm leaving in June 1st this summer. So I'm like, I kind of hold on to that I know that I'll be back. Um,
Mhm. I love that.
yeah,
But
yeah,
like
and
here, now that you're in Chicago, like the painting behind you with the sunset, like you painted that one here,
right.
correct? So like what was your process like with painting it here and not having that? Like, did you feel like connected to like did you feel those same moments and memories like while you were painting it?
Yeah, I always try to like take myself back to the landscape that I'm painting. Um, and then I sometimes I'll play like music, Greek music, or and
Mm-hmm.
I'll try and like I like when I'm painting, like I use a lot of energy. So like sometimes I'll like dance or I'll put a brush down and then step back, and they're usually large, so I like to like step back and just get in the zone.
Nice, nice. I
When
love
it's
And tell us like about like you're very like intuitive too, I think, when it comes to like making these brush strokes and like you're so free about it. Like you have this very like the way that you render something, it's very like you don't care to be perfect, but at the same time you are like analytically correct. You know what I mean? Like you have this like fun style where it's like it is realistic, but at the same time, like it has this like playful, like chunky, like brushstroke vibe. So I guess the question would be like when you were creating that piece with the sunsets, like how did you like process wise? Like what was that like for you? Like can you just like talk us through like
yeah. Well, I mean,
what was
like
your
when
thought process like start to finish? Like what was your mind thinking?
hmm. Well, I mean, I just think about like how like the waves, the ripples, like they're very like textural, right? So like I like to like add the palette knife, just to create that effect.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when
Like
I
color
first,
mixing, like when you were mixing the colors.
yeah, well, I started with like a wash first, like a sunset wash, very loose.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you did a great job with all of your pieces, and it's really cool to see like, your interpretation and like your emotion and how you like you capture that feeling of like the texture and the colors and the richness and like the reflections and that whole like experience. Like you feel like when you're looking into that painting, it feels like we're there and we're like experiencing that sunset like right next to you, like with you, and like you're bringing the viewer and you're like pulling us in, which I think is really, really cool.
Yeah,
Um,
and I like to change a little bit the colors. Um, Usually like this painting was very subtle in color palette, but I tend to go naturally. I tend to be drawn more to like vivid colors
Mm,
or
yeah,
um
more vibrant,
yeah.
poppy.
But if I don't always paint just grease. I don't know if we need to get into that, but just my other paintings, sometimes I like to combine references or go more surreal instead of impressionist. Depends to what concept I want to come across. Sometimes I work from my sketches
Mhm.
or yeah, if there's like something I went through a breakup or some type of difficulty, I like to kind of like journal in a way, but in drawings, and then kind of work from different references to combine like more of a narrative. And sometimes that helps me like it's a very therapeutic way of,
Processing.
yeah, like what
Yeah,
my emotion was or yeah, what I went through.
I like that. I like that. Like that's kind of what I was referring to of like your art practice of like Greece versus here. And it's like obviously like life gets like really real when we're here in Chicago. You know, shit happens. There's a lot of like emotion. It's like real life. It's like family dynamics, relationships, and all of the things. And it does cause, stress or like anxiety or like
Yeah.
fears or worries come up. And for you as like an artist, it's like that's like your escape and your safe place. And that and like for painting for you is like your outlet that like replugs you back into like that feeling of Greece, kind of, if
Right.
you know?
Yeah, totally.
And it's like you feel that peace and calmness, like when you like revert to creating in the studio and painting, and it triggers that positive emotion.
Yeah.
Even though like you might be going through something, it's like it is like therapeutic and healing to process your life through art. So I love it. And I think that's kind of like the main takeaway that I want to like really highlight for this group exhibition is like how us as humans, as with like we're Greek women, we have these roots of like loving these memories from Greece and like how it makes us feel and the emotion behind why we love Greece so much. And like being able to like bring that back to us and having art as like a tool and an outlet and like a safe place to bring back that spiritual joy and freedom in our life, even when life does get difficult or hard or challenging. It's like we have art as this outlet, as this tool that like brings us back emotionally to this like happy place. So
Yeah.
I definitely see that you definitely do that with your work. And I think it's really inspiring and really, really cool. And anyone listening, if you guys want to check out Theodora's work, she has like so many amazing subjects and paintings. It's all on your website, correct?
Not all of them, but my Grace series and I think my flower series is on my website. But everything else you can find on Instagram.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think honestly, your strongest works are your Greek, like Greek landscapes and photographed like paintings. It's like it comes through like in a different way. I feel like I've seen, your still life work and I've seen like you set up little vignettes in your studio and those are cool and they are telling like these narratives through objects,
Mhm.
which is really cool. And
Yeah,
it's like that has its own place, I think,
sure.
in its own right. But I
Yeah.
really feel your spiritual energy like coming out in these grease paintings. Like it comes out like through your heart. And like you can see like when I look at your piece, I see like what you were saying when you were there. And it like brings me in so I can experience it too. So I think it's really, really awesome. And I'm so excited that you're going to be able to show these pieces at the
Yeah.
exhibition in March. So that's really exciting. Do you want to show us like a close up of I'm for sure we're for sure putting in the orange landscape, ocean
Hmm.
sunset, and I'm pretty sure I haven't like decided 100% yet, but I'm pretty sure we're gonna show the Kefalonia village painting as well. So those two, um, because it kind of shows too like your art practice painting plein air in Greece feeling the vibes. And then like it also has that one painting that you created here that kind of like brought back that like refreshed Grecian energy.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I also have this fun one, watermelon.
oh, cool.
Enjoy the colors in here.
Yeah, it's like super, super rich and deep. Um,
Yeah.
I love that. So, Theodora, do you have anything else that you want to kind of talk us through or share about any of the pieces that, like, any of the pieces that you're selecting to put in the show, or just like your experience of how do you create spiritual joy in your day-to-day life? Do you want to just like maybe give our listeners like a few tips on like things that you do on a day-to-day basis that really center you and bring you back to that emotion of joy that you experience in Greece? Is there any
Oh.
ritual or daily practice that you do?
Before I paint, um, like 90% of the times I light incense.
Okay.
I light myrrh. Um, and I kind of like, and then sometimes I'll listen to like a chant or a prayer before, and then I'll go in and just play my music and paint, kind of to just like refocus my attention on what I'm doing.
Oh,
Center.
I love that. And especially like the incense, if you're not familiar too, the incense is what we light in church. And so it brings like it like activates your senses, like your smell. And in Orthodoxy, it's and like I'm sure you as an artist, I'm the same way, but you're very like sensual. Like you need to have all of your senses being triggered. And
Mhm.
so when you light the incense and you're like activating that sense of smell, and
Yeah.
then through this the chanting, you're activating the sense of sound in your ears, and like it's like a whole body experience. You're obviously activating your eyes through seeing, the photographs, the inspiration, the paint, the colors, the vibrancy, like you get that visual stimulation too. So it's like you're stimulating all of your senses and like preparing your mind and your body and your soul to like release like whatever needs to come out in the painting. So I think that's really, really beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, thank you, Theodora. This has been such a fun conversation with you, and I can't wait to be with you on March 1st. I know that you're going on a trip out of town and you might not actually be there in person, but we're going to cross our fingers and hope that you are able to make it.
If my plane lands on time, I
Yeah,
should be able to make it. Yeah.
I hope so. But just a reminder that from 3 to 5, we're doing an artist panel discussion together. So we'll have, a chance to get a little deeper and, talk in person. You guys can ask Theodora questions in person if she's there, or leave questions for me and we can do a part 2 and we can answer them. And
Yeah.
then from 5 to 8, we're doing a reception. So we'll have a party with a bunch of food and drinks and all the good social time to look at the work, admire the work, read about, the meaning behind each piece. We're going to have a lot of written descriptions underneath every artist's artwork. So it's going to be a really beautiful event. And that's all. So make sure you guys follow Theodora on Instagram, check out her website, and we'll see you guys at the next episode. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Theodora.